Have you ever looked around and felt that everyone seems to be running faster than you? Some people succeed earlier, look better, achieve more, while you're still struggling quietly, wondering if you're enough. We compare, we doubt, and little by little, we forget that each person is a story of their own. This story is about Leo, a young man who once lost himself because of a single habit, comparing himself to others. But through that mistake, he found something far greater, his true self. And maybe, after hearing his story, you'll realize that happiness doesn't come from being better than someone else, but from simply being yourself. Early in the morning, a small village at the foot of a hill awoke to the sound of roosters and the golden breath of dawn. By the window of a wooden house sat Leo, a 19-year-old boy, staring at the path leading up the hill. There, groups of young men were training hard for the upcoming competition, the best climber of the village. Leo had always dreamed of joining them, but every time he saw Aiden, strong, fast, and admired by everyone, his heart sank. "They're all better than me," he whispered to himself. He compared his steps, his shoes, his strength, even his worth to everyone else's. And slowly, his confidence faded, like a flame smothered by its own smoke. One afternoon, tired of feeling small, Leo wandered deep into the forest. There, he met old Max, a reclusive woodcarver known in the village as the man who talks to wood. Max was carving a rough, crooked piece of wood into the shape of a phoenix. Curious, Leo asked, "Why don't you use a smoother piece? Wouldn't that be easier?" Max smiled gently, still carving. "Because everyone wants the perfect wood, but only those who see the hidden beauty will keep the imperfect one." Then he looked at Leo and asked softly, "Do you ever feel like this crooked wood?" Leo sighed. "Yes, but unlike your wood, I don't think there's anything beautiful in me." The old man put down his chisel and said, "People aren't meant to be the same. If you keep comparing yourself, you'll always feel small. But if you learn to understand yourself, you'll see that even the crooked pieces can become something beautiful." Those words struck Leo like sunlight breaking through clouds. From that day on, he began visiting Max every afternoon, not just to learn carving, but to learn patience, presence, and the art of being himself. At first, Leo was clumsy. He cut his fingers, broke his wood, and almost gave up more times than he could count. But Max never scolded him. He only said, "Mistakes can be beautiful too, if you learn to love them." Over time, Leo realized that no carving was perfect. Every flaw, every uneven line told a story, and the more honest his work became, the more it carried his soul. Soon, people began noticing Leo's unique style, raw, simple, yet full of warmth. He no longer copied anyone else's technique. Instead, he carved in his own rhythm, slow, gentle, and real. For the first time in his life, Leo smiled at his rough hands and whispered, "I don't have to be like anyone else, I just need to be a better me than yesterday." A year later, the Best Climber competition returned. And this time, Leo signed up, not to win, but to test himself. When the race began, Aiden and the others dashed ahead like lightning. Leo was slow, steady, and quiet. Along the way, he stopped to help a little boy who slipped and to fix a fallen signpost for those behind. He was the last to reach the summit, but when he did, the crowd cheered louder than ever. Not because he was fast, but because he looked free. From afar, Max smiled and said, "This race wasn't about who arrived first. It was about who found themselves along the way." Leo looked down the path he had climbed, steep, rocky, exhausting, yet full of meaning, and for the first time, he felt peace. He didn't need to be the best, he only needed to be true. Years passed. Leo became one of the finest woodcarvers in the region, but he never called himself a master. Instead, he taught those who had once felt like giving up. To them, he would say, "If you compare yourself to others, you'll only see what you lack. But if you compare yourself to who you were yesterday, you'll see how far you've come." In front of his workshop, Leo placed a wooden statue of old Max, smiling with his chisel in hand. Beneath it, he carved these words, "Don't compare yourself to anyone. A wildflower never tries to be a rose. It just blooms in its own season." Maybe we've all been Leo at some point, standing in someone else's shadow, forgetting our own light. But remember this, a fish doesn't need to fly to prove its worth. A pine tree doesn't need to bloom to be beautiful. And you don't need to be anyone else to be happy. Happiness begins the moment you stop comparing and start embracing your unique journey. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Everyone climbs a different mountain, and reaching your own summit is already a victory. This story is for those who've ever felt not enough. You don't have to move fast. You just have to move forward. One step, one breath, one heartbeat at a time.
If you find this video interesting and meaningful, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.